Hi from Chickenwood Manor on this absolutely beautiful day in November. And I'll have to take off my FOs very quickly because I'll be sweltering any minute now. This is Lori from Chickenwood Studio coming back for my second episode. Thank you, everybody, for your kind comments and encouragement that spurred me on to give it another go. And really appreciate people that visited on the Ravelry group, joined up, and got back to me through comments on YouTube. So that's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate everything. Um, so before I forget, on Ravelry, it's Chickenwood Studio Podcast. I am there as Piper Mom. And my blog is chickenwoodstudio.com, where I hope to post some show notes so that there can be more info and details about the things I talk about here. I realized last time that I left out some info and didn't have things with me, so I am going to follow up on a few of those things before I go on with new stuff today. But that's where we're at, and I'm looking forward to getting back on a couple things I mentioned and then showing you a few new things that came up in the past week and a half. So today what I'm wearing is the Ricky hat and the Yowza Wayet shawl. I didn't get the details on the Ricky hat, sorry. The Yowza Wayet shawl is a Susan B. Anderson design, and I did them both with hand spun that I had, the bats for which I had purchased at Belfast Mini Mills in Prince Edward Island. Last week I had said PEI Mini Mills, and if you Googled that, that would probably come up as Belfast Mini Mills. But if you want to go directly, it's Belfast Mini Mills in Belfast, PEI. And oh my heavens, I've got to get these off. I'm dying. Okay, so today it's successful. I think I'll really enjoy wearing these together once it gets cold enough to enjoy wearing any of our extra woolly things. Today I'm sort of in the middle of soap making, and I thought it would be a good time to visit with you guys while I wait for the ingredients to cool, and maybe talk a little more about what I'm doing soap-wise today. But first, before we go further, I just wanted to get back on a couple things that I thought needed a little more clarification. Last time I talked to you about the reason we called our home Chickenwood, and our family had dubbed it such because we had repurposed wood from a chicken barn. And I realized maybe you were thinking chicken coop, and how odd that probably sounded because it's a sizable home out of wood from a chicken coop. But I dug out a picture of the chicken barn. It was a 4-story, well, 4-story chicken barn. There, that's a better shot. That's my husband. That's Buzz working on tearing off the siding of this chicken barn, which is now on our house. It was humongous. We could not handle the whole job, so we did what we could and left the rest for someone else who had the nerve and the equipment to finish it off. That was an adventure, to say the least. So that's what Chickenwood is all about. Let me see. I got a couple of those things covered. Also, I had shown you some yarn that I had ordered from Carrie at Serenity Farms. It was her Corriedale blended with alpaca, and I listed the alpaca farm, which was North Star Alpaca, but Carrie's farm is actually called Serenity Farm. She's out in Michigan. Here's her tag, Serenity Farms. And this was, I don't see a percentage. I think she said it was 80-20, but I don't know. But it's a lovely blend. Who knows? Maybe it's 50-50. As you can see, I haven't cast anything on yet with it. I'm hoarding it. No, I'll get to it this winter for some nice boot socks, hopefully. Something with a nice texture. Carrie also sent me some samples from her Corriedale fleeces, and I'm working on getting some of them washed and combed and spun, and I will share my samples and results with you when I get those done. So far, it's been delightful. Corriedale is so soft. It's so lovely. Another thing I need to correct myself on, was the yarn that I was using and the cashmere that I was using for the Glitten socks was from Autumn House Farm. I had seen them at Rhinebeck, and there is such a thing as Autumn Hill Farm, but that's an alpaca farm somewhere else. Autumn House Farm is the farm that I got those things from, and I had to back up on those because they didn't fit Buzz's hand very well. I have to make them a little larger, a little longer, so I'll bring those back when I get some progress done on them. Another thing, when I had mentioned the books, and specifically the Island Garden book by Celia Thaxter, I did take art history in college. I probably slept through 75% of it, sadly. Bad time of day. Anyway, Child Hassam. Not her, but him. And I did a little backup research on that, and I realized I pronounced that wrong and didn't realize who it was. So Child Hassam was the illustrator for her garden book. Beautiful impressionist, American impressionist art. And one more thing, well, there's two more, but one is when I had shown you the yarn for my knotty gloves, I have finished one, knotty, Knotty, and I have started the next. And that yarn is from a farm, the name of which I couldn't remember. So I have the other skein, and it is Twist of Fate Spinnery from Portland, Connecticut. Twist of Fate Spinnery. And this is actually a 50-50 blend. 50% alpaca, 50% wool. Just the perfect thing for these gloves. It's just so lovely. So I must get back to those. Let's see, and the other thing was regarding, when this is also getting into an On the Needle project, a new project, talking about the yarn that I spun from Hilltop Cloud. So I'll talk about that more when I get to it. Oh, oh, it's still recording. Roughly plying together and knitting into the sweater. At least once, twice. Maybe this is the third rendition. I can't remember. It's at least second. I still smell the lanolin in this stuff. Lovely. This is my Ramona sweater. It's really a jacket. Raglan sleeves. I barely dyed the locks with indigo, fresh indigo. So I really was concerned that it might not even show much up at all when I spun it, but it spun beautifully into a light blue, variegated, and it's border Leicester, so there's a lot of sheen. It's a little bit fuzzy and hairy, and it's very heavy, but it's ideal for a fall jacket. And the pattern came out great. The only issue is I need to do some surgery. And in the back, insert a short row or two along here to make the back a little longer than the front, because the lower back kind of rides up a little bit, and I'm not comfortable with that at all. So I'll let you know how that goes. This was my epic indigo dyed hand spun Ramona sweater. And if it would just get cold outside, I could enjoy wearing it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Moving along, those are my two FOs. And I have some more yarn to talk about, a couple of new projects, and a visit that I made to a dear friend in Connecticut this past weekend. And starting with getting back to one more thing about the last episode. When I spoke to you about the hand spun that I did with roving from Hilltop Cloud in Wales. And this is the yarn. You really can't tell the colors at all here. They kind of all blended a lot together when I spun them. And I had seen this pattern. I had seen Kay Jones wearing it on her podcast, Bakery Bears podcast, and admired it. It's a way back episode called The Dragonfly's Hat. I don't think you can see much of it here. It's a lace pattern beginning, and the pattern dropped on the floor. Hang on a sec. See if I printed off everything. Yes. Dragonfly's Hat by Joji Locatelli. Got it on Ravelry. Can't really see the lace too much in the pattern, but I'm really enjoying knitting with it. Knitting with handspun is just a great experience. There's just something special about it, and I always enjoy it. I enjoy knitting commercially spun yarn as well, but there's something extra ingredient. So I'm going to have a sip of my French roast coffee my daughter just made in my new mug. It's actually pink, not gold. Sort of looks brownish gold on there. See the knitting? Isn't it cute? I went to visit my friend, and we found these in a shop. I also found a gray one, and I can't decide. It's too close. Can't decide which one to keep. I'm going to give one away. Anyway, yum. Just about that time of day. When you need a cup of coffee. So that yarn was the colorway Treth from the line of roving from Hilltop Katie at Hilltop Cloud, and I looked up how to pronounce the line, and it's pronounced Hiraeth. Truff, I'm not so sure about, but Hiraeth in Welsh, translation that I could come up with to explain what it means, was when you're homesick for a home you can never return to, or grieving the lost places and moments of your past. And Katie has a bunch of colorways in her Hiraeth line, which when she first came out with it, she had posted on her blog some just beautiful photos and explanations and inspirations for how she came to those colorways. And I would have loved to have spun every one of them. There's about 9 of them, I think. So if you want to go over and find her blog and read about that and see those colors, see if there's any left, that would probably be lovely. I heard about Katie through her friend Catherine of Barber Black Sheep. Catherine has a group on Ravelry. She has a farm in Wales where she raises some Gotland sheep and some crosses, and she has a shop where she sells her fiber, does some beautiful dyeing and blending as well. And she had done, I think, probably a blog post about the same subject, Hiraeth, and all that it meant to her. And I can really, I visited Wales very briefly in October a couple of years ago, and I could just totally understand the spirit of the place and what they were trying to explain when they chose that for their yarn inspiration. Her blog is Barber Black Sheep, Made in Wales, making ruminations on making, growing, cooking, sewing, Sowing. She's quite a gardener. And I was so fortunate to be able to stop in and meet her on our way from Wales back to Oxford. We were visiting our daughter on her semester abroad. And I met Catherine and her lovely mom, and we had a great time. Too short visit. But I love her blogging. She has gorgeous photos and lovely prose and postings on her farming life. So hi, Catherine, if you ever get to see this. Hello from New York. Okay, I'll try to sit still. I'm probably making people dizzy. Where am I? I'll have another sip of coffee. The soap ingredients are cooling down. Pretty soon I'll blend the lye water and the oils and start cooking the soap. And then after they've cooked till they're done, I will add some colors and some peppermint. Today I'm making peppermint candy cane soap. So I'll have some white and some pink and swirl them around in the pot, and hopefully have a nice pretty swirly peppermint candy type of looking soap. It's one of my favorites. On the needles, I showed you the dragonfly hat, and the other on the needles today, well, I still am working on those muscle socks. It's just I'll show you how they're coming along. It's just a knit 2 purl 1 rib for now, for the top of the sock, top of the foot, and then a plain bottom. I just needed something that wasn't too complicated. Plus the color changes are so pretty. This doesn't really want for a stitch pattern. It's going to be great. I'm really enjoying the colors in this. So I'm just about ready to start the heel flap. And going from toe up, that's kind of interesting. I've done several different types of heels from toe up, including the afterthought heel, the fish lips kiss heel, the short row heel, but I really like the upside down heel flap one, and if I can find my notes on that, I'll include those in the notes if you're curious to see what that's like. I'll have to look up again where I learned to do it. I've only done it once, so I'll share that with you in case you're interested. The other one I'm excited to tell you about, excuse me, let's see, speaking of the Bakery Bears, Kay had designed a shawl recently about her visit to Chatsworth, and it's called the Duchess of Devonshire, whoops. She made a lovely yellow one, and I've been thinking about that for quite a while. And when I was visiting my friend in Connecticut this past weekend, she has yarn from her farm available to purchase, and I told her I wanted to go shopping in her shelves. She raised alpacas for a while and had lovely blends made up of alpaca and merino, some alpaca bamboo and silk. So I thought with her sport weight yarn I could make a beautiful Duchess shawl. So we went looking in her bins. Sure enough, actually there were 2 colors I came home with that I really loved. This one is 70 alpaca, 30 merino, and it's a pale blue, and the camera's not showing it up too beautifully at all. It looks gray, but it's a pale blue. It's called Baby's Got Her Blue Jeans On. Amy's yarn is called Music to My Hands. All of the titles of her yarns are titles of songs, and that's really fun. Let me show you how the shawl is coming along beautifully. It's really nice to knit. So I'm coming along down from the top, my eyelet lace and my garter stitch panels. Got my second, and I'm going to start another garter stitch panel. It's just super nice yarn. So looking forward to that, and it'll look nice with white or black, blue jeans, anything. Super sweet. The other color, here's the other color of the Music to My Hands that I picked up. It's called Elderberry Wine. It's the same blend, 70% alpaca, 30% merino. Made in the USA, sport weight. And you probably can't, it looks brown here. You can see a little of the purple in there. Tiny bit. So you'd have to be out in broad daylight to see more of the wine color. In the shadows, it definitely looks more of a brown, but beautiful. So thank you, Amy. Can't wait to do something out of that one too. So those are the latest things on the needles. We talked about Hyatt and the Welsh Fiber and Farms. If you're interested in maybe getting some of the Music to My Hands, Amy's blog is musictomyhands.wordpress.com. Give her a holler if you're interested. I hope to do more sewing this week and weaving. I want to talk about weaving on the next episode. I'm trying to get the warp for a baby wrap on my little Louette David loom. And that's been a real challenge because I had a limited amount of warp yarn, and I'm having to supplement that with some other yarn, well, actually the weft. And it'll be a twill pattern, 30 ends an inch, and 10-2 cotton and silk blend. So that's going to take a bit. And I hope I can get it done before the baby turns like 6. So it's kind of hard to carry a 6-year-old around on your hip in a baby wrap. Speaking of weaving, I had one other little weaving thing to share with you. What did I do with it? I had it right here. Oh, great when this happens. Oh, here it is. It's under the counter. When I set up the big barn loom this summer that I call Big Bertha, that I have since had to move to our cellar, I was able to at least weave a sample on her about 1 foot wide. And I did a white warp, and I set it up for a simple twill pattern. So I had a variety of treadlings for this twill, and I made the sample. And when I got the sample off, I had been interested in making project bags. That was when I began doing that, and this is the project bag I made from my sample of weaving. I changed the weft halfway down, and I lined it with an old sheet. Came out just fine. It's just a little box, just big enough for a sock project. And it's so special to me. It's my first weaving on the big old-fashioned antique barn loom, which maybe I can show you pictures of later, or take the camera down and show you the loom at some point. I think that would be a lot of fun. So, more weaving to come in future visits, and more soap to be shown. I won't be able to, well, I might be able to add and merge some recording time and show you the soap. Or maybe I'll just take some stills and put them in the show notes. But for now, this is kind of a short one, and it's only been a week and a half since last time, but thanks for joining me. Thanks for all of your encouragement, and I hope that wherever you are enjoying your woolly and fibery pursuits, or whatever it is you enjoy making. So, cheers from Chickenwood. So long.